Like one time a guy tried to goad me into an argument of comparing myself to one of the top people musical people in my generation. I don't want to say who, but you'll understand the flow on this. So, and they said, can you compare, like, who do you think's better? So it was like a real cheese setup. And I said, well, I think they were more talented. And I said, I feel I'm in the conversation. And they said, why are you in the conversation? I said, because I'm alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Well, it's also like you can't deny that Smashing Pumpkins didn't have some bangers. Like anybody who denies that.
Well, Joe, that's a whole other episode because the band is probably one of the most misunderstood. I mean, we're probably one of the most misunderstood bands in the history of rock and roll. I mean, that sounds like a wrestling statement, but it's fairly accurate.
What do you think that's from?
I think it has a lot to do with the issues of Gen X, and it has a lot to do with a relationship that I set into motion with the media when I was a very young person playing kind of a funny game, like doing my own version of Andy Kaufman or Bob Zamuda. You understand?
Uh-huh.
Because I thought it was all shitty, so I was just like, I'm just going to play with this like a toy because I think it's kind of funny. I didn't realize that the coming culture was going to kind of almost be attracted to people who are willing to immolate themselves on the public stage.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Most people who are attracted to fame, they want to run towards the shiny part of it.
Right.
I was attracted to the non-shiny part, which is, okay, I'll light myself on fire and let's see what happens. Or I'll light you on fire and let's see what happens. So it kind of worked in the 90s when everybody was rolling and moving along. Well, here comes Napster, the music business craters. Then a bunch of people die. And there you are standing, now at 40 years old. You're supposed to carry some flag for a generation that doesn't even know who it is anymore.
How do you navigate that? Like, did that trouble you at the time? Was it difficult to work as an artist?
Yeah, it's very difficult. The simple version is, and I had some of the top people in the music business sit me down one-on-one in a room and say, just give them what they want.
Jesus.
Your life will be a lot better. You'll make a lot more money. And you could put your head on your pillow at night and not have to think about all these things. And my response every time was, I don't give a fuck. And I used to quote Popeye, I am what I am. I'm here. Wow. I'm here because I'm a freak. Okay? And I ain't changing for anything.
Good for you.
And part of that goes back to my daddy. Okay? I watched a man literally broken by the business. So I'm the last person who's going to bow down for that. Off.
Well, the beautiful thing is, too, you always had an audience. So you didn't have to.
Well, there is that. But at the end of the day, how can I explain it? Everybody in the music business will tell you your value is exponentially related to your success. So your biggest song is here and your next biggest song is here. And there's like a pyramid. And as you go down, you lose value. Your aging becomes part of that loss of value. How do you maintain value, relevancy? You no longer have the record business that used to exist. You no longer have the structure. I mean, the music business is basically a touring business first now.
Right.
And everything else is in support of the touring business. We're lucky in that we continue to be a very large touring band. So you're told over and over again, almost in a propagandistic way, that your value is related to what's on a piece of paper. And then somehow I woke up in the middle of it and I thought, no, that's actually not my value. And so the minute I started saying, no, I know what my real value is. It's that I'm an independent artist who, like a voice in the wilderness, represents something. And I know it's not for everybody. Trust me, I've been getting that message since I was a little kid, including from my own family. But I know what I represents something that's valuable. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I see the consistency of the kind of, let's call it the communication between myself and somebody who's interested in what I do. And once I started doubling and tripling down the value, my business started going back up.
Wow.
And the way I would say it in a crass way is I reasserted my brand. Not the brand I was being handed in 40 plus brand. You're an oldies band. You're an oldies artist. You play these songs.
Well, you just kept and reinforced your true voice. Yeah.
But I had to live it.
Which brought you to the dance in the first place.
It seems silly, but that's what I had to figure out. I had to figure that out on my own because there was nobody telling me that. God. I mean, you got to understand, and you're a man of the world, so you know what I'm saying. When you're in a room with somebody who runs the world, in my case, runs the music business.
Yeah.
The guy who can get you done, the guy who can get you canceled, the guy who can make stuff happen.
Yeah.
And that guy tells you, here's your value. It's awfully hard to go back to Chicago, Illinois and convince yourself that he's wrong.
Right. Right.
There's nobody, and who do you talk to about
Especially if fame is fleeting. It comes and goes. Album sales come and go. And there's a new big thing right now. There's the new thing.
Oh,
and you're not the new
always
thing
the new
anymore.
thing.
Yeah. And then someone's coming along. Listen, you've got to listen to us. We know how you can be back on top.
I don't read comments, but I have a social media person who occasionally relays what she sees.
Oh, boy.
Well, we kind of keep it on the positive. But my favorite comment of the last few years was she started poking around with young fans, 16, 18-year-olds, who were suddenly seeming to come out of the woodwork and liking the band and me. Almost like a cuddly bear or something. They suddenly were attracted to me in a way that the 16 and 18-year-olds of the previous generation weren't. So I asked her, I said, why don't you poke around with these people and ask them what's interesting? And my favorite comment, and it became kind of common amongst the feedback that she got, was, I like him because other people told me not to like him. But what that says to me Anybody can interpret the way they want. What is said to me is we need people in the zeitgeist of the culture who don't represent the collective yes. There's always room for somebody on the corner saying no.
Right.
And that goes back to Lenny Bruce. As crazy as all that was, you still need that guy going, no. You know what I'm saying? And you can call them whatever, disruptors or whatever.
Authentic voices.
That sounds nicer than disruptor. I like disruptor because that's what I do.
Well, it does disrupt, but it disrupts because it's an authentic voice and because it bucks the idea of creating some manufactured thing for the market.
I've told many people in the music business, I know that you don't want me in this business, but I'm here. And I've made a lot of money, and I've made a lot of people a lot of money. Like, what's the problem?
Also, you made great songs.
But most people are in the business for the music.
But the idea that somebody wouldn't want you in the business when you've been very successful in the business is just insane. It doesn't even make any sense.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's the weird thing that you guys have to deal with. You deal with like this whole layer of non-artistic people that have influence over art.